Now, still on fintech, one of the pioneers of payments, Dragonpay, tells us how they are doing 9 years down the line. Here to chat with us, we have Dick Chang, founder and chief technology officer. Dick, good morning. Nice to have you here with us on the show. So again, you launched the platform 9 years ago, and even before this whole craze, this whole frenzy about fintech here. So how has it evolved in the past 9 years, especially when you're talking about a space and environment that's highly competition rather that's highly funded?
Okay, well, I think the local industry hasn't really changed that much, to be honest. When Dragonpay started back in 2010, we came up with this mission of bringing in more people to go online, especially those who don't have credit cards, don't have online banking. And so we push really more on the alternative payments, such as cash payments. And even to today, if you look at the major e-commerce sites, about 80 to 90% of their volume is still cash on delivery, or some form of cash, right? Although we've seen a lot of adoption of e-wallets, especially those promoted by the mobile payment systems, and as well as increased penetration for online banking. But if you look at it from a total perspective, cash is still king at this point in time. So not really a lot has changed.
Okay, very interesting. So still a lot to be capitalized here and to digitalize.
Definitely.
But, one part of it is actually you do accept cash payments. You're not trying to go cashless in general. Now, I was just at the Asian Bankers Association conference, and they were mentioning how, banks should stop trying to become their own technology company and instead partner with the technology companies already existing with platforms such as yourself. Are you looking at some of these partnerships?
Yes, well, one of the partners that we've been working for quite some time is Union Bank. So we've done a lot of things with them, and I think the bank has also been very progressive in going into a lot of new things like blockchain and all that. So yes, we do see even the more traditional, the bigger banks, they have started releasing what we call APIs, or application programming interfaces, allowing third party to be able to interact with their system in a more seamless manner. So yes, I think there is a trend, but it's very slow, especially given our local banking industry is very conservative, I guess, compared to foreign markets.
So you don't see them as a competition. You don't feel that they're trying to take the space, but instead you see it as a collaborative effort.
Oh, yes. Yes, I think the banks have pretty much opened up, and they came to the realization that there's a much bigger market out there, what we call the unbanked. And I think it helps the whole industry if they just open their systems.
Okay, let's talk more about your products. And one main thrust here about Dragonpay is, of course, you are helping merchants, especially we're talking about medium and small enterprises here. So let's talk about Sure Tayo. Tell us how this works. It's an escrow service you launched in 2018.
Yes, so Sure Tayo is basically targeted towards mom and pop sellers. These are people who sell small items, anything from Facebook and Instagram. They may not have a physical store, nor they may be in the official economy. So we wanted to offer them a way to be able to sell things and receive payments through all sorts of payment channels that we support. At the same time, we wanted a buyer to have a higher level of confidence when they're buying from a Sure Tayo seller, that this is not a scammer, that I'm not sending my money through some money remittance system and then the guy would just disappear. So as an escrow service, what we basically do is we hold onto the money when somebody makes a payment from a totally unknown Instagram seller, and we don't release the money to that seller until the buyer confirms that the item was received. So we're providing a middleman service wherein we make sure that buyer gets what he wants, and seller also makes sure that they're not talking to a scammer who may be just pretending to be a buyer. So it works both ways.
But this is trying to replace the cash on delivery method in a way, right? That I want to get my package and that's the only time I'm going to give my cash. But as you mentioned, cash is still king. We've had Lazada on the show, and it's still all about cash on delivery. How is this changing? Have you seen e-commerce habits changing into them using these sort of escrow services?
I think overall, since the market keeps growing, there's a lot of people who are getting more comfortable with using e-wallets and online banking. But of course, since the whole market is also growing, the percentage of people still on cash is also growing at more or less the same pace. Yes, we hope that in the years to come, as we have the national retail payment systems and more acceptance of e-wallets, and now you have the QR code standardization system, slowly people will have to start moving to electronic. But I think there's a lot of things that the government still has to do. Everything from like a national ID system and all that before a mass conversion would happen. So I think it will happen over a very long period of time in a very slow, controlled pace.
Okay. Now, question is, of course, a lot of the questions, one major concern, rather, when you're talking about digital payments is definitely still security, cybersecurity. How do you try to address that?
Well, we try to focus more on alternative payments that are actually not prone to fraud. Fraud
Okay.
usually happens when it comes to things like credit cards, where it's so easy to steal credit card information. Practically any gas station boy or any waiter can just copy everything on your
Yes.
card. It's that simple, right? But when you go to cash payments and alternative payments, usually it's a lot more sophisticated or complicated to do. Like online banking, they would have IDs, passwords, OTPs.
Okay.
The same with e-wallets, you would have to have the mobile phone would receive an SMS, PIN. So the security in place, I think, is a lot more higher than what traditional payments would be using. And at
Okay.
the same time, I guess people are comfortable about cash payments because, well, to be honest, there's no way to fraud cash, right? Unless you use counterfeit bills.
Correct. Okay. So jumping on that trust that customers already have. Now, we've had all of these other fintechs that we just reported on PayMaya, for instance, and we also had GCash on the show. And they've admitted that payments are not the money makers, right? You just said that Voyager is looking to turn a profit in 2024. And so they're looking at this just as a platform, but they want to offer other services, insurance,
Right, exactly.
savings, loans. Are you looking into that? So venturing out of payments and looking at other alternative products?
Not really. We have always been focused really just on payments.
Payments.
But as you mentioned, payments is very tricky because basically you can make money only once you reach a certain economy of scale.
Correct.
Because
Yes.
what you earn per transaction is really so tiny that over a long period of time, you'd really just have to build the base. I guess what made us different and what made us survive this in the past 9 years has been we have been growing organically. So we don't go the full out. We subsidize everything and then get everybody on board and pay everybody fees just to refer people. So we've really grown it organically over the last 9 years, and we're happy to say that we have been profitable pretty much since the start.
Yeah, that's actually, we were
Yes.
asking you that. Are you profitable?
Profitable,
And
yeah.
you also have future plans in terms of expansion plans. Tell us more on that and how you're planning to fund that.
Okay, so we are currently, we received our first investment from a Japanese investor back in 2014. So that was 4 years after we started. So the first 4 years, it was really just bootstrapped. It was just cash flow, keeping the company growing. And then 2014, we got our first boost. And now we're about to close another major investment with a fairly big local partner. So that should keep us going for the next couple more years.
Afloat and
Yes.
profitable moving forward.
Okay, but also forward-looking here, I want to pick up on one point you raised earlier about this move to have the national ID system. At the same time, you also have the BSP here moving to actually launching their QR codes here. How will that change the game here, especially when you're talking about digital payments?
Well, the national ID system, I think, is a very key component in terms of establishing trust and identity on the person. Because once you go e-wallets and all that, the next question is always, how do you do the KYC? How do you know that's really the person? So tying it up to a national ID system will solve the whole unbanked issue, in my point of view. And with the BSP stepping in and regulating things. From standardizing QR codes to supervising all these payment gateways, I think it can only be a good thing. Simply because it would legitimize, I guess, the industry more.
Right.
People would get more comfortable buying things online because they would feel more secure that there's somebody supervising all of these, rather than it's a wild west type of market, right? So I think it's good for everybody.
So it seems as though these national measures will definitely, in a way, change the game here when you're talking about digital payments. Thank you, Dick Chang, founder and chief technology officer of Dragonpay.
Thank you.
And that's the first look into the business day. This Tuesday, November 19, 2019. I'm Danny Laurel.
And I'm Jess De Los Santos. We are One News.